It's the second hour of the Alex Jones Show. I'm filling in for Alex today. My name's Paul Joseph Watson, editor and writer for PrisonPlanet.com. Alex is away working in a Gulf on a project with Jesse Ventura, and he'll be back to host the show on Friday. Now we're going to welcome our special guest. And ladies and gentlemen, when Gerald Celente talks, people tend to listen. The fall of the Soviet Union, the crash of '87, the panic of '08, the rise of the anti-tax movement and the Tea Party, the Great Recession, and now the Greatest Depression. Gerald Celente and the Trends Research Institute predicted every one of them and many more years before they happen. And now with times as fraught as these, many people are turning to Gerald and the Trends Research Institute for advice on how they can prepare for the turmoil that's in the pipeline for the years ahead. And the website is trendsresearch.com. Get your calls lined up for Gerald, 800-259-9231. Gerald Celente, welcome to the show today. Great to have you on.
Oh, Paul, good to be on with you.
It's a pleasure. Now, I want to cover a host of issues. Some are economic, and I know that when Alex talks to you, you mainly cover just economic ground, but others related to culture and immigration, because some of our listeners may not be aware of the fact that the Trends Journal is about, you know, more than just financial forecasting. It's about what we're going to see unfold in society in general in a myriad of different ways. So on that note, one issue that we've been tracking here is the seeming correlation between the collapse in America's global standing, you know, the collapse in the economy, the housing market, and society in general, with the collapse in what we call moral standards and just the basic decency with which people use to treat each other. And I think this manifests itself with the kind of dumbing down of our culture and the type of music and cultural values that the establishment puts out there that our young people are sucked into. Now, in the latest Trends Journal, one thing that caught my eye was how you talk about this, quote, thrill of the thuggish, as you coin it, and how it was going to be trumped over the next couple of years by a return to beauty and elegance in the creative arts. And that's something that piqued my interest. So can you expand, Gerald, on why you think this new trend will be born and how it will manifest itself in culture and society?
For those that understand that this has to be clearly one of the biggest money makers waiting out there to happen. As you mentioned, we've dumbed down to levels where we now have the President of the United States riffing on Snooki. So the country's become clearly Snooki stupid. And that if anybody, and as a trend forecaster, you know, there's a lot of things I don't like to do, and one of them that I have to do is watch how stupid TV is. And anyone that could sit through an hour of Jersey Shore should win a medal, because it's pure torture. And when you see how ignorant it has become and how elevated it has hit the society, the people that are the smart money are going to say, contrary to what the media says, contrary to what Madison Avenue in Hollywood say, contrary to what the president may say and the politicians, this is not what the people want. It's only the stupidest of people that want that. And what's happened is, Paul, they look to that lowest common denominator and make that the standard. The smart money says, no, I'm not going that way. I'm going for the people that don't want that.
Okay, stay there, Gerald. We'll be back to explore this further after the break. This is the Alex Jones Show.
Now we've had to switch to the phone lines because of a Skype issue. But we're continuing with Gerald Celente of the Trends Research Institute at trendsresearch.com. Now, Gerald, picking up on that issue of how we're being manipulated, and more specifically in the context of the immigration debate, I know that in the past, the Trends Journal has made forecasts about how immigration is going to become this increasingly divisive and politically polarizing force as we move forward. And obviously this is in the public mind at the moment with the debate about the situation in Arizona. And then you look at other things in the news, such as the Ground Zero mosque issue, which has got people's blood boiling on both sides. You've got the Quran burning story, with now even General Petraeus stepping in and warning that this could cause violence. So you have whites infuriated with Muslims, you have Muslims in Indonesia and other places burning American flags in protest of this Quran story. And then you have films like Machete being released, which stir up tensions between whites and Hispanics. So, Gerald, is this a kind of cyclical phenomenon, or, does it represent something new? Are we being manipulated into some kind of confrontation or even race war scenario to distract us from the crumbling economy and the coming wars?
Well, yes, in a lot of ways. By the way, we have a bad connection. I don't know how I sound on your end, but you're coming in all fuzzy on mine. And
you sound fine. It's just I'm on the phone.
Okay, before I jump into that, I'd like to finish what I was talking about, how to make money on the elegance trend. It goes back to the 20% solution. There are 20% of the population with money and with brains that want to keep stepping up. So it means if you're going to open up a little restaurant, open up a cool little bistro that's really done nicely but with good price points. You're seeing more and more, Paul, the people that are making it in this economy, opening up new venues, doing it with putting elegance and grace back into it. People dressing up. A lot of people really want to do it, but they don't have anywhere to do it. In music, in entertainment, you name it, food, fashion, at every level, people are looking for a higher level. Is everybody? No. There's going to be the 80% of the people that are stuffing themselves with junk food, that are sedentary, that are strapped in front of the TV or computer and not moving. Lose them. You're not going to get them. So in a marketing sense, go toward the elegance. Now, to answer your question about this whole anti-Muslim rage, if you go back to our Trends Journal, 1993, and then my book, Trends 2000, that came out in December of 1996, we wrote about Crusades 2000. It was in the making, and it's continuing. What they're doing is it's to think that every Muslim is a lunatic is like saying that every Christian wants an inquisition. It's ridiculous at this point, but they keep driving it further and further. But then you hear somebody like General Petraeus saying that burning the Quran could be dangerous to American troops. Hey, General Petraeus, how about invading Arab countries and occupying them and killing innocent people? You think that could be dangerous to American troops? Oh, no, our foreign policy has nothing to do with this. They don't like us because they don't like Americans because we go to Disneyland and shop at Walmart. So, let's look at the reality here. The reality is that these wars that America's fighting around the world, along with their British cousins, those lovely people whose flag never set on the English Empire and have conquered so many countries, could that be any of the reason for the anti-Americanism? Now you throw on top of it, let's go back to what happened after World War II. They're rebuilding Europe, and they want cheap labor. Where are they going to get it from? I got an idea. Let's get some Turks in there. So the Germans bring in a lot of cheap labor. Of all the countries, the United States They all bring in cheap labor, and now when times turn tough, they want them out of there. So it really goes back to the labor issue when you look at this. And when you look at the anti-immigration trends in the U.S., for example, who are the people that promoted this letting everybody and their uncle, aunt, sister, and brother fly into this nation unimpeded? Try the National Association of Manufacturers. Try Microsoft bringing in all these people on H-1B visas. Cheap labor at any level. So that's what's really going on here. You have a population boom. You had go back 100,000 years ago. It took from 100,000 years ago to 1900 to put 1.5 billion people on the planet. 2 world wars later, the Vietnam War, the Korean War, the Afghan War, and on the wars. Now we have what? 6.5 billion, 6.7 billion. Too many people, not enough jobs. Immigration is going to be a major issue, and along with it becomes the religious and the racial.
Right, so you're basically saying that we are being manipulated to kind of get at each other's throats. Is that just to distract us?
There's no question they do to get at each other's throats. And I mean, this whole thing. Here's my deal, by the way. People ask me, I'm a New Yorker, about this mosque. Well, first of all, you understand it's not a mosque. It's more like a community center. But here's my take on it. Everybody, all the churches, all the synagogues, all the mosques, all the religions, as Jesus Christ said, render unto Caesar what's Caesar's. Let them all pay taxes, and then we're going to see a different story here. And you also, by the way, it'll help balance the budget. Let all these religions, all these charitable organizations, all these nonprofit organizations that are hiding under whatever banner they're using, let them pay taxes. And then I'll tell you what, Paul, I bet this issue wouldn't be such a big issue.
Amazing. Shifting gears, you mentioned the unemployment rate in regard to immigration. I had Bob Chapman on the show the other day, who publishes the International Forecaster, and he was saying basically, we know the US Labor Department's cooked book saying 9.6 unemployment figure is completely inaccurate. But Bob was in fact saying that if you take the U6 unemployment figure of 16.7%, and then add in even the statistics that they don't include, we're talking about an unemployment rate in the United States which is already over 21%. Now, I mean, even at the 1933 level, we were at 25%. So, I mean, do you have a figure in mind for what the real unemployment rate is in America at the moment, not the one that the CNBC talking heads are telling us? How far are we going to go in terms of unemployment until we can actually acknowledge that we're in another Great Depression?
Well, I think Bob Chapman does excellent work, and I go by what he says on that number. He really has it down well, and I agree with him wholeheartely. We're going to continue to decline. Let's look at what happened last week when the stock market ran rampant for one day on the good news that we didn't lose as many jobs as we thought we did. I mean, how can this happen? That a market would respond like that, and then you look at where the jobs were created. Hey, how about home health aides or ambulance workers, medical workers, and bartenders and waitresses, wonderful jobs they created. So even as they're creating jobs, and remember, we have to create anywhere between 150,000 to 125,000 a month just to keep up with population growth of new people moving into the system. We have an unemployment rate that we're going to see as we move deeper into this greatest depression over 25%. It's going to look like sunny Spain in good old USA.